Jay Massey is a full-time real estate investor. He's an entrepreneur.
He also teaches people how to find deals, raise capital for real estate investments.
Meeting Jay Massey in person, you'd think he's just a regular guy. He's got jeans and a t-shirt on and a pair of sneakers. But he's built up a multi-million-dollar empire.
I hope you do have an empty notebook because it's going home filled.
Jay gives back so much value that I've never seen.
Now, at this moment, when I'm looking at the kitchen, things are going through my head.
You want to be friends with him, and he treats you like you're the only person in the room, even though it's for the benefit of everybody.
This is how, when you ask yourself, how does Jay do it? This is how.
He tells people that they have to take action, and they have to take action now. I took the action, and the results have paid off.
What happens when the marketplace understands who we are and how we go out there?
About. All right, let's try that again. Now, can you hear me? Because I was wondering if you could hear me or not. So hopefully now you can hear me. Do me a favor. Go ahead and type a 1 in the chat. Give me a 1 in the chat when you can hear me. You should be able to hear me now because, well, it was muted. It was muted. But hey, welcome to live. So glad that you're here. Glad that you've decided to return, come back one more time for those of you who have been here before. But for most of you, you're brand new, and that's great. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to be ready, right? Absolutely ready. All right, excellent. Jamie, I appreciate you 100% letting me know that you got it, that you can hear me. So I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you are ready to make this thing happen because when it comes to short-term rentals, they can happen quickly. Our goal this week is to help you leave your time with us each and every day with very actionable steps. And then many of you, not all, but many of you already know about the VIP session, that VIP session that tends to happen after, like immediately after our training session here today. So some of you, you've already put yourself in position to be there, which is great. Others of you, maybe you still want an opportunity. I will make sure that you know how to do that in just a moment. But most importantly, I need you to make sure that you have a copy of the workbook. When I say the workbook, it's a book, it's a PDF. It looks very similar to what you're seeing on the screen at this particular moment. So that PDF that you see right here, no, there, this way, right there. Yes, there it is. The PDF, it should look like that on the top. That is what you are looking for. And what I would like you to make sure that you have, go to CashFlowDiary.com/workbook to make sure that you have a copy of that for now and every day. As we continue, you will always need your workbook, okay? We will go over it and many times, but I just want to make sure that you know that it's necessary. Next, many of you, as I said, you have already taken advantage of the opportunity to be in a VIP session. That VIP session is where you and I and my team, we're going to be there to help answer more of the questions that you guys may have. So this is going to be delivered in such a way that you can ask your questions because there will be homework each and every day. And the goal is for you to complete the homework, not just think about the homework. And at the end of the day, those who actually take the time to complete the homework will be the ones who get units as we continue to go this week. And we're going to do, like I said, homework every day. Because of the goal is to get your business off the ground or improve it if you guys are already in operation. Because I've had the privilege of working with a lot of people on this particular strategy. And what we want to do is we want to put everybody that we can in position to win. Because in this particular year, there's a significant amount of revenue that is due to the short-term rental industry. And we want to make sure that you get your share, as they often say. We talk a lot about all the pieces over these next 5 days when it comes to the business. And I want to make sure that you understand that not only is that workbook important, but for those of you who want to make sure that you're at and attending and getting questions answered and making the absolute most progress, you want to make sure that you are at the VIP sessions as well. Now, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Ask them as we go. We have a number of our team who are here to assist you, and they will be here continuously just to make sure that everything goes the way that it should, making sure that you have the workbooks, you have your questions, you're getting your questions answered. Occasionally, you may decide that, you know what, I am ready. I want to know more, and I want to know more right now. So tell us what you got. So, and you're just ready to talk to us in a one-on-one basis. We'll talk about that as well. But right now, I want you to look at this list of information that we're going to be going over. So today we're going to be talking about the number one thing that I often have said is you must know who it is that you want to serve. The number one thing, who do you want to serve? This is step number one. This is also the most skipped step. Hopefully that'll be no further. This is your opportunity to understand it. Right? That is what we are doing. We're giving you an opportunity to understand it and understand its importance and how it will guarantee put you in a position to have more success consistently, day in and day out. Marketplace, whatever marketplace you choose to be, whether it's a single family house or a piece of land. Then Tuesday, tomorrow, what's going to happen is that we're going to be talking about how you can make this business fit what you intend to create for your life. What does that look like? And more importantly, how does that play out with how fast you can go, when you can earn money? What is that? You know, what does the economics in the business model even look like? Jay, is this quote unquote realistic for me? Those types of questions. Then many times when you first come here or meet us, you're in a position where you're thinking, I don't know if I have everything I need. I don't have all of the money, the income or whatnot in order to get this done. And you're like, well, what am I going to do if I can't quote unquote find the money? Well, we're going to teach you to get your butt in the right spot. That's important to understand, your butt in the right place, because here's the thing. We often say, I would do this if I had, but if only. And these are the things that we're going to help you, regardless of your credit score, regardless of what you think you have right now. We're going to help you uncover resources that you did not know and teach you how to access them. Then when it comes down to it, how we think about a thing often plays into our ability to do a thing. For example, you will hear me say this many times. There's no such thing as a money problem. There's no such thing as unrealistic expectations. So if there's no such thing as a money problem, what is the problem? It's how we're thinking. Okay. So you have an idea problem when you think you have a money problem. And unrealistic expectations, no such thing. Just unrealistic timeframes. Because if you want to be able to earn 100 grand, can you do it with this business? Yes. Can you do it tomorrow? Not likely. See, it's an unrealistic time frame. Do you want to earn 100 grand a month with this business? Yes. Can you do it in 3 years? You should be able to, if not sooner. Okay. Depending on the systems and your implementation and your ability to follow, directions and SOPs and all the stuff. We'll get into that. And then Friday, what it comes down to is that by this day on Friday, somebody, one of you, two of you, 10 of you, I don't really know, you will have made some significant progress. And we're going to be going deep into those next steps of what you need to do to keep the momentum going. All right. Keep the momentum going. Because at the end of the day, it's one thing to come together for 5 short days, as you will, and get stuff moving. It's another to keep it going, because building a sustainable business that works without me, without you even, is typically the goal. You want to put yourself and your family in a position in which you can continue to generate income regardless of where you are geographically, where you are physically, mentally, emotionally, so that if you wanted to take a vacation or if you were sick or unable to work, income still happens. This is 100% possible with this particular business model. And restrictions, the things that we tend to let hold us back, they don't even matter. And we're going to talk about why that is for sure as we go through this session and all the others. And don't forget to go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And then for those of you who are, again, going to be joining us at the VIP session, make sure that you should have already received the links for the Zoom link and all this other stuff. And if you haven't yet upgraded, feel free to go to cashflowdiary.com/challenge VIP. And our team will make sure that you indeed are able to get there. All right. So do me a favor right now. If you are ready, type in the chat ready so that I know that you are with me, your pen, your pad, your papers, everything is out. You're ready to go, that you have a copy of the workbook. And now is the time for you to engage and begin to make this whole thing work. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. We're going to dive in. It may go fast, but the good news is that you'll be able to watch the replay as well. You'll be able to watch the replay. All right. So I see, who do we have here? We got Caressa. Is it? Was that? Oh, wait. Oh, man, it's going fast. I love it. So there's Jamie again. And I thought I saw a Caressa. Is that right? Yes. And Caressa is ready. Excellent. So some of you guys are here. You're ready. As I don't know how to say that. Aziz? I think that's it. Aziz. Hopefully I got it right, man. Doing the best I can. That I like it when you guys are ready. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dive in, get that book open, and let's make sure that you understand this first step of how to identify your, not mine, your ideal client, the person who it is that you want to serve, because this is by far the most important piece of everything stems from this, right? I wish I could overstate it sometimes because then maybe, just maybe, it would be like, taken more seriously. I don't know, but this is the most important piece. So it's really important that you are ready to pay attention to everything that you're going to see over here, everything that's coming out of my mouth. Take some notes. Because this is the beginning of the business model that you are designing for yourself and your family, like right now. All right. So when it comes down to it, understanding how short-term rentals work, or why short-term rentals work, is really important. Technically both. Why and how. What on earth is a short-term rental and why does it work? In a nutshell, here's what we do. A short-term rental is nothing more than buying time at wholesale from a landlord and then reselling that time at retail. We buy time wholesale, we sell it retail. We buy time in year-long increments from a landlord, and then we sell it in days, in day increments, to a retail customer. So if this sounds very familiar to things like a vending machine, a vending machine is a really great example because you can buy a whole bunch of water, put it in a machine, put the machine in a comfortable location. And then what you end up with is a situation in which now you've got cold water, but it's $2 a bottle as opposed to $5 for 24 bottles when you bought it at wholesale. So that's really what we do. And we package up time and resell it. Now, just like a vending machine, when you bought the bottles of water wholesale, what happened? What happened is they were not necessarily cold. They were all packaged together. They weren't necessarily convenient either relative to the time in which you were thirsty. So those are things that were added to each individual bottle. Some refrigeration, a different location, making it, and a different packaging. So they split up the package, made it cold, and put it somewhere where where the operator believed you would want a drink. And for those services, they marked up the bottle of water to $2. Yes, it's the same bottle of water. And now what ends up happening is that they get to make $48 on the 24 pack, even though they paid $5 for it. Now, some of that $48 may go to a landlord who is leasing space for that vending machine, which is fine. But just understand that there's still more than enough money left over to buy yet another pack of water and do it all over again. This is the general principle, economic model for what we're talking about. Now, some of you may have noticed my use of the word landlord many times. That is intentional because I do not want you to start by purchasing property. Now, if you already own some stuff, fine. But purchasing property is not a prerequisite, nor is it superior to or better than just leasing at the beginning. So let me give you some more criteria, some more understanding. I do want you to eventually purchase, but I want you to purchase in a certain sequence. That sequence happens when your net income is greater than or equal to a month per month of a down payment on whatever property you want. So let me say it differently. If you were going to buy a property for 100 grand and you needed to put 20 grand down, I wanted you to wait until your short-term rental business starts to generate 20 grand a month of net income. Then go buy whatever you want for 100 grand. That's what I am saying. Okay. Now, those numbers may sound very large to you or very small to you, depending on your prior experience. Either way, very possible. They've always been possible. Your job here, the reason you're here, not anywhere else, the reason you're here is because you already know that we help you make it more probable, period. So someone type in the chat, more probable, because that's what Cashflow Diary does, is we take the information that we've gathered, that's the best business practices. We take things that have been always possible and make them more probable. And you are here because you wanted to increase your probabilities of success. Therefore, you're taking notes, you're showing up, you're writing down all the information, you're making sure to put yourself in the best light and situation for your new business. Okay. So that is a little bit of the how and the why, if you will. But let me give you one more little piece because it's really important. All businesses, and by all I mean all businesses solve a problem or increase the quality of life of their customer. I like businesses that solve problems, and I like problems that are big, and I like problems that do not matter, and are very resistant to outside forces. For example, if you were an umbrella manufacturer, you don't really sell a whole lot of umbrellas in California because it doesn't rain. No, it does rain, but you get my point. Whereas in Seattle, you probably have more sales, right? If that makes sense. So that is a contingent situation. But let me ask you this. You're intelligent. You've been on this planet a little while. How long have you witnessed humans wanting a roof over their head? Like in your experience, not my experience, in your experience, how long has that been true? If you think the answer is somewhere near always, you're right. So that's good. So now let me ask the next question. How long do you think that will continue to be true? And again, if the answer is somewhere near always, congrats. This is my point. My point is that what your business is built around is a basic human need that has always been here and for the foreseeable future will still be here. Therefore, it's recession proof. Therefore, it does not matter about geography. Therefore, whether it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 12-bedroom mansion or vacant land, we'll talk about that, it still works. Here's the point. The point is that you don't have to be so right, quote unquote, about whether it's a 1-bedroom or a house situation, as much as it is that you have to be right about who it is that you want to serve. Because when you know who it is that you want to serve with that clarity, you have the ability to then not only make the right decisions, but the most economical ones as well. Because at some point, you will want to know, what is, do I need, how many TVs do I need? What size bed? And do I do bunk beds or all of the things? Okay, all of the things. These are all things some of you probably have already thought, or challenges that some of you probably have already had, especially if you've been in the business for any, for any length of time. All right, so understand that identifying your ideal client will save you money first. And there's only 2 ways to do things. You can do it right or again. You choose. You can do it right or again. So do me a favor, type in the chat, I'm gonna do it right. Because see, again is more expensive, period. You can do it right or again. What does that mean? You could start, hear what I'm saying. You can start this business with your best ideas. The challenge is you don't know that if your best ideas are right? That's the challenge. Now, not only that, But once you do run into better ideas, you have to do them again. So you are going to do it right. So hopefully that's what you're here for. Okay, I see Carissa and Jamie, you guys are on it. You're like, I'm doing it right. Perfect. Because it's only right or again. And those are the two choices, right? When you're endeavoring to do something new, it's usually better. You'll get there faster if the road is already paved. Does that mean, so could I walk from California to North Carolina without a paved road? Yes, I could, and it would be challenging, but I could do it. It is not an impossibility. It would take lots of planning. It's not something I'm planning on doing. However, would it be better for me to take a plane, maybe even a train, or just get on the freeway and drive? And the answer is it depends on what my goal is. See, oftentimes we can get confused when it comes to making progress. We say to ourselves, well, I don't need this and I don't need that, but we don't have the clarity around what it is that we wish to create. So if I wish to get to North Carolina by walking from California because I just wanted to create a journal of walking across America, then therefore, that would be the best choice. But if my goal was just to get to North Carolina because I wanted to visit my mom, walking is probably not a good idea. Notice how the destination is the same, but the method of transportation is completely different. Let me say it differently. Would you prefer to get to that 6-figure plus level of business by walking or flying on a pre-made jet with hors d'oeuvres and drinks and landing safely or more safely simply because you have a team watching you, watching over you, helping you to keep making all of the best decisions relative to any new inputs or changes that happen in your marketplace? This is where you type, I prefer the team. I prefer the team. Now, that's also why you're going to do all the homework. Please hear me clearly, because if you don't do the homework, you're not even on the plane. Yes, you already have your ticket right now. You just boarded. The door is closing. We are taxiing to that runway and we're going to continue. We're going to take off. We're going to hit that 30,000 feet really fast. And we're going to tell you exactly what you need to do to land safely, step by step. And we're going to do our best to keep the plane on course, on target, on time, all of that. Nobody's losing any luggage this trip unless you choose to get out the plane early. And if you get out the plane early, that is on you. Please hear what I'm saying. This is all part of the process of becoming a business owner, is understanding that you're in somebody else's planes, which means you don't run up to the cockpit and start telling the pilot how to fly. The pilot, and you hope, knows how to get from California to North Carolina. They know how to get to the destination. They're not asking for your input on what is it going to take to land this plane. They've done it before. The CashFlowDiary team, we are here. We have done this before. We'll tell you how to take off. We'll tell you how to cruise at very high altitude. We'll tell you how to land and get to where you want to go. Okay? So what does that mean? We're going to continue to deposit a significant number of ideas in you right now so that you have the highest probability of winning. Understand this. When you hear the word short-term rentals, many of you've heard Airbnb business, right? So let's understand why this is important. You don't have an Airbnb business. You provide temporary housing. We typically call that a short-term rental. Now, a short-term rental can function over many different lengths of stay. It can also serve many different customers. That's the challenge. When I say short-term rental, you need to know the vocabulary that I'm using. I don't mean Airbnb. Now, that is a marketplace. So Airbnb is a marketplace. Someone please type that in the chat. Airbnb is a marketplace. It's not a verb. You can't Airbnb something. Please stop saying that. And it's a marketplace. It's a place where buyers and sellers meet. That's it. Buyers and sellers. Someone looking to buy time is talking to someone who's looking to sell time. And the difference is that you want to make your time more attractive to the target person that you want to serve. Bingo. That's the key. This is also why, please hear me, saturation cannot, does not, will not exist. I'm going to say it again. Saturation cannot, will not, does not exist. Here's why. When you go to buy, I don't know, a shirt, for example, okay? Now, I don't care where you buy shirts from. That's irrelevant for this conversation. You can buy a shirt from Walmart. You can buy it from Target. You could buy it from Nordstrom, right? So those are three potential places, right? You could buy them from Neiman. You could buy them from Bloomingdale's. You could buy it. I don't care where you get your shirts from. From a functional standpoint, regardless of where the shirt comes from, regardless, they all function the same. They all function the same. It's still a shirt. That's my point. Now, let's look at it from the business side. The business side, though, when you go to Walmart, you have an expectation, right? When you go to Target, you have a different one. When you go to Nordstrom or Neiman's or what have you, you have a different expectation. That's what that's what the business is delivering on. Your expectation of the quality of product, expectation of the experience, expectation of how the service. That's what's different. And then therefore the shirt is priced appropriately for that particular experience. That's what happens. Same is true when it comes to your short-term rental business. See, never once is Neiman Marcus concerned about what Walmart is doing. Let me say that again. Neiman, Nordstrom don't care what Walmart is doing because they're serving completely different people. So when you look, because I know you've done this already, when you go to sites like Airbnb, Travelocity, Expedia, Wimdu, Flipkey, etc., when you go to those sites, just because you see 40,000 listings, now I don't even think you're going to see that many, but even if you did, it does not mean those 40,000 people are even trying to do the same thing you are or talk to the same person that you are. And here's the kicker. The ones that you see are the ones that are vacant. Hear what I'm saying? The ones that you see are the ones that are vacant. So most of the time when you're going to the site, people are looking at it going, oh man, how am I going to compete with them? You're saying, how can I compete with the guys who don't know what they're doing? Because they're vacant. Did you hear what I just said? I find that interesting, right? Because I hear it all the time. Well, I was looking on the site and they said they were priced like this. I don't see how the numbers are going to work because that's not how you do it. That's the whole thing. You're comparing yourself to the people who are vacant for that date range. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing anything right or wrong, but you don't know is part of the problem. Plus, you don't know what customer type they are serving. And this is everything. Could you imagine if someone over at Nordstrom went to Walmart's site and said, oh my God, they got shirts for $8. What are we going to do? We're never going to make money. Seriously? Like, what are you talking about? No one cares that Walmart is selling a shirt for $8. We're going to target our customer and charge them for the experience that we create. So in order for saturation to exist, you would have to have a supply equal to or greater than the total number of potential quote unquote Nordstrom customers, if that's what you were going for the high end, or Target for the middle of the road. You would have to have that already. In a market, there would have to be enough supply. And there's not enough supply. So across the board, so let me tell you another reason. Here's why they work. Supply and demand are out of balance. So you remember your economics, your basic high school economics class. Let's quick test. When supply is low and demand is high, what happens to the price? Does it go up or down? Type it in the chat. Supply is low, demand is high. What happens to the price? Does it go up or does it go down? Type it in the chat. You tell me. Now, never mind the fact that the economics teacher probably didn't run a business. But in this case, we're going to use that same principle to help you understand something very basic here. Okay, so it skyrocket. Yes, I love it. Exactly. It goes up. It increases. So here's the marketplace you are entering right now. Pre-COVID, supply was low and demand was high. Post-COVID, now, supply went down and demand went higher. So here's the challenge you have in front of you, is that everything works, nothing doesn't. You literally just have to be present in order to make this thing make some money. Now, just because you make money, and I'm talking especially to those of you who have already done this business, haven't been here, just because you made money, that does not mean you know what you're doing. Let me say that again. Just because you made money, it does not mean you know what you're doing. And therein lies the rub. Because if you don't know how to scale to 20, 40, 60 units or more, if you don't know how to have equity capital and or debt capital inside your short-term rental business without giving away the entire farm and control, then you don't know what you're doing. If you don't understand the formula, which we'll talk about, L times C times F times M equals GP, we're going to break that down. And those of you who have pricing issues, you're going to love me for this one, especially for a slow season. So make sure we got a lot to go through. L times C times F times M equals GP. If you don't understand what those levers mean and how important they are to your business, you don't know what you're doing. If you can't launch a short-term rental in a foreign country whose language you don't speak and have it work, you don't have a predictable system. If this is the first time you have heard of a standard operating procedure, like if that was the first time, you don't know yet what you're doing. Everything I'm talking about, by the way, you can't Google it, but it applies. And that's the challenge. That's the rub. It's like you can go get data and it all day long and information from Google. You can go get information from Google, but how does it work here in the short-term rental business in your area right now relative to your position and resources? Not Googleable, but right now, make sure that you're taking notes and understanding the context for the content. And for those of you who are still thinking through everything that I'm saying and coming up with questions, remember the VIP session is coming up here soon and I want you there. Okay. My point is this: supply in the short-term rental temporary housing space has plummeted. Demand has increased. And the consumer preference, someone type that in, consumer preference, type that in the chat. Consumer preferences have changed because everyone was forced to adopt certain ways of being. You had to change how you ordered how you got groceries. Notice I said how you ordered groceries. Because you used to, like, it was routine, go to the grocery store. And now you heard of Instacart, right? Because guess what you had to do? You had to do something different than what you had always been doing. And you were forced into that situation. You were forced to adopt a new way of doing many things. And that forced adoption is still playing its way out. And the consumer preferences, nobody wants to be around a whole bunch of people, not yet. And even when they do, they're still, half of us are still wearing masks, the other half aren't. And this is not that type of conversation. I'm saying that you will see 5 years plus from now, some people will still be wearing the mask for no other reason than that's what it takes for them to feel comfortable, and it'll be fine because that's what they have chosen for themselves. Consumer preferences have forever changed. And one of the changes that we can provide is control over the environment or space at which someone stays when they are staying away from home. And your parents, your young parents, absolutely love it. Your older adults also love it. Many people like having control over their environment, and some have discovered that short-term rentals have an added advantage of a kitchen, because everybody seems to forget, or they say, Jay, but what about the hotels? I don't care, because it's two completely different experiences for one of many reasons. But here's one. When you go to one, you've also agreed to do is eat out. You know why? Because there's no kitchen. You have no way of preparing your own food. You have no way of preparing your own food at the hotel. Now, an extended stay is something different. And even then, it's kind of a kitchenette, not a full kitchen. My point is, short-term rentals are a completely different experience. They have too many different use cases, 65 to be exact. And they're never going away, as in not ever. They've been around since the Civil War period, and they're not going anywhere. Let me say that again for those of you who are like, but the ordinance, they're not going anywhere. Okay? They're not going anywhere. Here's an exercise for homework, just for fun, for you. There's a company out there called Oakwood. Oakwood. Look them up, just because. They've been around forever. Definitely the largest in the residential space for short-term rentals. Oakwood, been around forever. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. I don't care what your newspaper said. It's not going anywhere. Okay? I just want to drive that home, because I know some of us, you're just a little scared and timid. And we got to deal with that today with finality, because the work I am asking you to do is going to cause you to talk to strangers, and you need to be confident. And that's what I'm giving you, the information as to why I say all the things that I say, or you may have heard me say, no matter where you may have heard me say it before. Okay. Now, because of consumer preference change, there's over 150 billion, that's with a B. So someone type that in, 150 billion with a B dollars allocated for short-term rentals this year. Now, we're almost done with the first quarter. So there's 270 plus days left. $150 billion is still a lot of money for 270 days. Just do the math. You'll understand there's more than enough room for you. There's no such thing as saturation in your marketplace. I don't care how many people have how many listings. It's not saturated. We haven't even gotten to marketplace acceptance yet, let alone financing, let alone all the other things that come in order to create such a situation. Okay. Now, here's the next thing, and why understanding your ideal client is so important. Because if you don't choose, you won't be chosen. Let me say that again. If you don't choose, you won't be chosen. Here's what I mean. You can want to open a restaurant, but if you don't choose what type of food you are going to serve, what cultural type of food, I want Italian food, Mexican food, Ethiopian food. Okay, great. If you don't choose, you won't be chosen. Because I don't go to a place like Chick-fil-A, and y'all knew that was coming, right? You knew I was going to find a way to mention Chick-fil-A. Anyway, yeah, I don't go to a place like Chick-fil-A for pizza. If I wanted pizza, Chick-fil-A is not the place, because that's not what they do. But Chick-fil-A chose, so they can then be chosen. But if you don't choose, you won't be chosen. Please hear that. Now, let's apply it to your short-term rental business. See, only after you know your ideal client, do you know how many bedrooms you need? Do you know what design you need? Do you know what your pricing should be? Do you know whether it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom? Does it need to be near an airport? Or how about museums? Can it be in the wilderness? What about vacant land? Until you know, what size beds do you use? Until you know, do you understand what I'm saying? Everything hinges on you choosing so you can be chosen. Someone please write that in the chat, because what it comes down to is most people are afraid to choose. That's why you hear things from property managers like, oh, I don't know, occupancy is going to be about 60%. That's trash. Or people are like, I'm vacant and I don't know what to do. That means you didn't choose. You never did this step. And that is nobody's fault but your own. You used your best ideas, and your best ideas got you to a point. And now it's time for new ones. And this is the most important. If you want to be chosen, you must first choose. That means you are cutting out other options by default. I'm cutting off other options. What are those other options? What am I talking about? Even though one of my target ideal clients is families traveling with small children, we do not use bunk beds. Did you hear what I just said? We do not use bunk beds because bunk beds are too expensive. You're like, wait a minute. I've seen bunk beds. They've been at the furniture store. See, I'm not looking at the cost of the furniture. I don't care what the cost of the furniture costs. I'm looking at the opportunity cost, because I have to ask myself as a business owner, if I have a bunk bed, what don't I have? What can't I serve? I can't serve an adult in that bedroom because it's a bunk bed. Very few, myself included, adults want a bunk bed to sleep on and will skip over it, period. Which means I've cut out a significant portion of the traveling population because it's a bunk bed. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't any case anywhere where bunk beds could be helpful, but that means you have chosen, haven't you? And by doubling down on that choice and being specific to serve that type of customer, that's how you win. By not choosing, you lose. You lose to the person who chose, which is funny, which is why, especially right now, I can help myself or one of our students go into any marketplace. And by any, I mean all. And we can take over a zip code because it's clear to see who never chose, because they're trying to appeal to everybody because you didn't choose. Now, also because you didn't choose, you know what happens? You won't take the risk or what you perceive as a risk. For example, one of the things that we choose and teach people to choose is the customer's security and safety above all. Security and safety above all. What does that mean? That means when you stay at one of our locations, we know that within 7 to 9 minutes, 24/7, we can have an emergency responder on site to deal with anything if necessary. If necessary. That's like our worst case scenario, 7 to 9 minutes without having to call 911. Did you hear what I'm saying? Within 7 to 9 minutes, an emergency responder on site without having to actually call 911 while the operator is still asleep. Hear this. You don't have to wake up. It can get handled, and it happens quickly. Safety, screening, safety, and security. By far, the other place where people don't want to make the investment because you start thinking about your pocketbook, not the customer's experience. So screening, safety, and security, paramount. And it's one of the things everyone's always like, well, I don't have to buy that, do I? No, you don't. And at some point, that weakness will be taken advantage of, and then it might cost you your entire business. I've seen it happen too many times. That's how I know it's true. That's also why we double down on screening, safety, and security. Because sometimes maybe you do want to work a government contract. Guess what? If you don't have the proper screening, safety, and security, that's not going to happen for you, because they can't rely upon you to be able to deal with issues and keep the customer safe. So they're not going to risk it. If you wanted to work with, say, DV, domestic violence situations, guess what you need? Screening, safety, and security. If you wanted to work with shelters for homeless and the screening, safety, and security, these things matter. But if you haven't thought about them, just because you have a bed, that doesn't mean you're qualified, especially if I'm coming up against for the same. Think about it. Which would you choose? Which would you? Because these guys, many of the times when someone is choosing where to stay, you know what happens? They're risking their job. So would you rather have the place with screening, safety, and security, or the one that has none? Think about that. for a second, because the customer does not assume that you have screening, safety, and security. So you have to know how to talk about it in such a way that it doesn't make them feel like you're watching them. And got cameras all over the place. By the way, do not put cameras inside the unit. I said that. It's recorded. Do not. I've never said anything. Don't use Amazon Alexas and Google, the Google devices. Don't do that. I can go into all the privacy concerns. Just don't do that. My point is, you have to choose in order to be chosen. By literally choosing to not choose, you've made a choice to not be chosen. Wow, that almost sounded like a tongue twister. But that's the key. So what are some of the things you should choose? You should choose the age customer you wish to serve, whether that's the young professionals or the families traveling with small kids or the elderly or some combination thereof, because some cultures travel multi-generationally. But you have to choose. You should choose, where do you think your customer is coming from? Yeah, like what geography are they coming from? There are so many reasons to do this, not the least of which is you can now have a shot at choosing which restaurants and or grocery stores are going to be best for your customer. See, that was a inside hack right there. By understanding the type of palette your customer has, if you choose to put your short-term rental near the things that they are most likely, highly probable to want, you win. But you got to think about the customer, not you. What is the customer coming to do? What is their main reason for traveling? Did they want, is it a vacation? Okay, maybe. But what about those who are displaced because their house flooded? See, that's a completely different situation. Yet temporary housing gets used like this all the time. And they're some of the most profitable. But what about the military individuals who are transferring duty stations, or the government workers who are coming to an area to maybe work with a company like a Raytheon or Google or Facebook for that matter? Do you see where this is going? It's huge. This is why you're not getting chosen. This is why, even though you're happy with the dollars that you have made, you still have left tens of thousands on the table, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on how many units you have. This is why right now, every day that goes by, you're losing approximately $143 of top line revenue per, you ready? Per unit that you do not currently have, and assuming this is a one bedroom. So if you could have had units by now, even if it was 10, what I'm saying to you is today, if you had 10 units, but you don't, you probably lost somewhere around $1,500 to $2,500. And tomorrow the same thing's going to happen. And by lost, I mean, it didn't like get created out of thin air. It just went to somebody else, not you. It could have been you, but you weren't there to be chosen because you did not choose to take the risk. One of the things, here's another one. Here's a big one. See, sometimes the reason for travel is because it's medical, right? They are coming for a particular procedure. But yet, do you know how many people won't put a TV in the bedroom? I've seen it. I've stayed there. I examine. I intentionally, when I travel, use other people's short-term rentals just to remind myself that, yep, we still got it. We know what we're doing. And occasionally you find a new idea or two, but most of the time it's like, yep, no problem in this zip code. We could totally take it over because they don't know what they're doing. And it's because of small things like putting a television in the bedroom. You're like, well, why would I do that? Why spend the extra money? That's what you're thinking. And what I know to be true is that medical people who are coming for a medical procedure, they like having a TV in the bedroom. You know why? Because they don't want to be uncomfortable on the couch while watching TV. And then you're like, but it's a sleeper sofa. How many sleeper sofas have you been on? Which is a whole new thing. Anyway, we'll tell you how to fix the mattress and sleeper sofas. That's for another day. My point. And what if they are traveling with someone else? Think about all of the things. I'm telling you, TVs in the bedroom matter depending on the customer type we're talking about. They're not the only one, but that's one of the major ones. I need you to hear that. You have to choose. Here's another choice that you might not be thinking of: size. See, right now, I'm just on this tiny little screen, but I'm 6'4". So California King is what it takes for me to fit on your bed, which means every one of you who have queen beds, never staying at your place. Never staying at your place, as in not ever staying at your place. Here's why this is important, because it's not just me, but if you do a small little bit of Google research, you will see that taller people make more money. Hear what I just said. Taller people make more money. So what do you think would happen if you're one of the only king size beds available and you're using a pricing strategy that we call last man standing, which means the closer to the date, the higher your price goes, because availability is getting availability of rooms is small. Think about what I just said there. But if you don't have a king size bed, sometimes last man standing, that may be the reason it didn't work, because there are still other queen size beds available. But if you're the only king size bed, maybe you can charge a little more. It's not really maybe, but I'm just saying, you got to understand what I'm saying. But what if you took that all the way to the couch, to the dining room table? What if you made sure the shower head, it's rare that the shower head is below me. Like, I often have to duck. But because we custom and cater towards the taller individual, guess what we do? Think about what I am saying to you. So when you travel again to the area, where are you most likely to stay? Where am I most likely to stay? I've stayed here once. I don't want to risk a horrible experience. And I know I fit on the bed and that shower was great. So I'm just going to choose coming back. That's how you can snag a repeat customer, especially one that has a significant job and, more importantly, probably comes back to the area frequently. This and many, many more things are things that you can choose, right? Some of you speak multiple languages, then you should choose to make your listings in both languages. You should also request guests who speak multiple languages to leave a review in their native language. You can choose, not only the location, but you can choose to be the only short-term rental that also comes with a vehicle, with a private chef, with babysitting, and many other things. And we will talk about that, but you have to choose who you want to serve, because see, that is the key. Until you choose that, everything's a guess. Everything's a guess. And I don't want you to guess, but that's what most people do. And right now, guessing works. Guessing is also called gambling, works, because supply and demand is out of whack. But how safe do you sleep at night? How long before the market turns or changes, right? If interest rates change, does that affect short-term rental? What if the weather patterns change? Does that affect? What about lockdowns and all that? What do I do when that happens? It depends. Who did you choose to serve? Because if you didn't, I don't know. Do you need Wi-Fi? And if so, what speed? Who did you choose to serve? How many sets of dishes do you need? Who did you choose to serve? Do you need a dining room table at all? Who did you choose to serve? See, these are all questions that resonate and come back to you simply because they're questions that have to be answered in order to get the short-term rental up and running. But if you didn't choose, what ends up happening to me when I stay at most of your places is that I'm sleeping on doll furniture. That's what it feels like. It's like, what is this guy? I can't use this table. It's made for small people. And I'm not saying anything other than consider and make an actual choice. Because when you make that choice, what happens is your customer goes, oh, this place was perfect for us. And when they leave a review, they will describe themselves so that other people who are just like them, who want a positive experience, can do it too. But you have to choose. If you don't choose, you can't be chosen. Just think about that. Because you don't choose, you won't be chosen. I don't know that you're for me if you look like everybody else. See, there's a strategy behind design relative to the culture that you are serving. In the Asian culture, red is a significant color. Do you think we have lots of red? and in the locations where the Asian culture is likely to travel? Yes or no? See, do you see what just happened there? You're like, geez, everything gets affected here. Another reason, hey, by the way, we use king size beds everywhere. Here's another reason from a functional standpoint. Or I'm sorry, not only king size beds, but also flat sheets, no fitted. You know why? Because that's a choice to save operational costs. Just think about, you're like, oh my God, there's lots of, what flavor of coffee? You got to choose. Do you need a Keurig or an actual, like, what's it, French press, or do you want ground? You have to choose, because there are times where having the beans and grinding them there, that makes sense relative to the customer type. Well, okay, what about a piece of vacant land? Who are you serving? And what's you have to choose. These are all things that you have to choose. Are they traveling for work? What is their average length of stay? Are they, because the medical professionals have very different lengths of stay. What about near a university? Does that matter? Yes. And who is it that you're serving? Military bases that do training. I'm trying to do my best to tell you that this thing is huge and expansive, because it just kind of is. Now, what does that mean? That means you have to choose. You have to understand all of the variables that you need to choose between, so that you can make what becomes a predictable choice, so that you can drive baselines and know what performance should look like. Because if you don't know, you'll never know when the market has changed, or if things are working properly, or what to fix. You'll never be able to scale, hire the necessary individuals that you need. Your SOPs, God only knows how on earth you're going to communicate to people, because you haven't chosen. And because you haven't chosen, well, it's kind of hard to train anybody. And it feels like it's very expensive. It's very hard. You keep burning through people over and over again, because you haven't made it simple enough for them to actually do the work. So what is the work for you? Is that you've got to define your ideal client. There's no such thing as too specific. So you've got to be very hyper specific, like super hyper specific. You've got to be able and willing to feel like it should feel like I'm excluding too many people. That's what it should feel like. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what you're doing. It means you're speaking, though. You're speaking directly to the person that you are looking to serve. That's the big gotcha. Because, see, when you choose, you can understand if being married is important or not, because that can help inform some additional items that you need. It can inform whether or not, like, if you know you're serving kids, being near a park suddenly could matter depending on how long they're going to stay. If you understand that they always tend to stay at Marriott's and Ritz-Carlton's, that can help you understand additional services and chauffeurs and a whole bunch of, be specific. There's no such thing as too much specificity when it comes to who you want to serve. It is the lack of specificity. So for those of you who have friends that do Airbnb, what they don't know can, has, and always will hurt them. And it's their lack of specificity. Or if you knew someone who used to do Airbnb, that I promise you, this is what they skipped. This is what they didn't know. And because they didn't know it, they never had the confidence to get to 7, 10, 15, 20 units and more. Your job is to define your ideal client three times. 3 times. That's what I want you to do. At least 3 different types of ideal clients. As specific as you possibly can. So the next session we're going to be talking about is very custom goal setting. How fast should you go? When you're going to make money? How much money am I going to make per unit? How does that work? We're going to dig into those numbers and give you a very specific plan on how to figure it out. Some of you will know by the time our normal session is done tomorrow, what's it going to take for you to leave your job? Yay. That should sound exciting for some of you. Now, What I want those of you to do is get ready for our VIP session where you get to interact with myself and the team. And what we're going to do is going to answer your questions. Okay. It's very structured. Okay. So make sure you have the Zoom link. If you don't have the Zoom link already, then make sure you go to cashflowdiary.com/challenge VIP to put yourself in position, because you'll not only get the Zoom link, you'll get the recordings, and you will be there all week. It'll be great. And the information that we have already given you is worth the price of admission and will continue to be over and over again. And we got a whole lot more. And the VIP sessions are very much the same way. So feel free to join us. Get there now. Bring a friend. My point is simple. You've experienced what we have so far, and this is just today. This is just the beginning, and you already know that, man, you thought of a friend or two that should have been here. Help them out. Send them the same link you used to get registered here, because here's the deal: we're gonna keep going, and it's not too late for them to start. All right. So make sure that you catch up with us at the VIP session. For those of you who are already there, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. I just want to double check the start time on that. One second. I got to look at the calendar, because I think it actually starts in 30 minutes or so. Yes, it does. It starts at the half hour. So what I want you to do is know at the half hour. Okay, at the half hour. So right now in California, it's like a little after 5. So at the half hour, 5:30, make sure you're there, because we're going to start on time. We're going to end that sucker on time. It's timed. And we get in, we get out, we get you the most direct answer we could give you for the questions that you have. And it's really important you understand this, that some of your questions may be covered in future in some of the next sessions. So if that happens, you may hear me say, hey, I think that's Tuesday. I think that's Wednesday. We'll make sure you come back Friday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that we can address it at the proper time, because it is the content that we have is laid out in a specific fashion as to not create confusion. We don't want to start skipping steps, and we want everybody to come along, nobody left behind, so that we can make sure that those of you who are ready to make something happen have the highest probability of making something happen. So here's how we're going to end today. And what I would love for you to do as the music plays, and those of you who still are getting ready to join us in the VIP session, don't forget, just go to cashflowdiary.com/challenge VIP. Here's what I would love to see. So when I come back later to look at the recording and replays, and I'm inside the Facebook group, what I want you to do is I want you to write one thing in the chat right now, one thing, at least one thing that you got from today, not that you brought here, but something you got from today that you'd like, I didn't know that. And if there was more than one thing, that's fine too. But I want you to write that in the chat. And then for those of you who are going to be at the VIP session, I look forward to seeing you soon. Those of you who are still registering right now, go to cashflowdiary.com/challenge VIP, and go to cashflowdiary.com/challenge VIP. And I will see you guys very soon.